My name is Ali Hassan, and this is for my Communication of Art and Design for New York Institute of Technology. Architects and architectural students create models for many different reasons. One of the main reasons why we create models is because not everyone is able to look at a series of floor plans and elevations and sections and really deduce a clear image in their head of what an architect's concept for a design is. But everyone can look at a 3D model and really get a very good idea and understanding of what our design is. So for my final project in the Design 1, we were told to create a visitor center which has a total square footage of 13,600 square feet for Ulysses S. Grant's tomb, which is located on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. The tomb sits at the north end of the site, situated between Riverside Drive West and East and 122nd Street, which is about right here. So we were given the area from the bottom of the steps of the tomb till the south side of the site. One of the first things that I realized in my initial site analysis was that they tried having this grandeur entrance by having an alley of trees that started at the south side. But they ended up losing this grandeur entrance by having an additional two entrances, one on the east side and one on the west side. So for my layout of the museum, I really wanted to reinstate this grandeur entrance. So with this reinstating of the grandeur entrance, I came up with a concept for the museum that basically played with the visual perspectives of the tomb. I really wanted to keep the tomb the main attraction. So with that said, that's how I ended up coming with the checkered shape of the building. I basically oriented certain rooms and certain sides of the museum that were facing towards the tomb. So when I was separating the spaces in the program space, my concept was I divided the space into three different spaces. One was the visual, were rooms that had constant visual perspectives of the tomb. The second was rooms that have no visual perspective of the tomb. And the third were rooms that have a visual perspective of the tomb and an option to not have it. Basically, by having this checkered shape of the museum, by orienting the building like this and situating certain rooms at the two ends of the museum that face it, these were the rooms that have the visual perspective of the tomb, which would be, let's say, the constant visual perspective would be an entrance, the cafe, and the terrace. Rooms that would have the visual perspective and option of a curtain along the glass would be rooms oriented facing the tomb, but with this glass there would be some sort of a curtain to be able to block it, and the exhibition space as well. Let's say if there were needed to be times of privacy, and also the special archive if anybody needed real private times. So with this design, after using a concept that really focused on the tomb and keeping a visual perspective of it, I wanted to take it one step further and really articulate each occupier's perspective on a very intimate level. Basically, throughout the egress of the building, that's how I really wanted to articulate the perspectives. For instance, when you would enter on the east side, you're then drawn to back to the south side to reinstate to go back to the center axis of the tomb. And when you come into the entrance, when you're walking along, you can see inside the reading room, you can see outside. Then the second you enter into the entrance, you enter through a narrow hallway with opaque walls, and your visual perspective of the outside world is completely cut off. Then, the moment the wall ends, you're automatically drawn to the right-hand side, and your perspective is automatically looking straight towards the tomb. Not only is it looking directly at the tomb, but it's also framed by these two walls, because when you walk through, you automatically turn, you look over a desk with the site manager sitting, and now this tomb almost comes on display through a framed portrait. Another way I started articulating the space on a more intimate level is by this ramp. When you would go down this ramp, you're able to look outside through the glass to the outside world, and you're able to see inside. The moment your head goes below ground and you can't see outside and you can't see through the glass anymore is about halfway. The moment your head goes below ground, your eyes are automatically going to follow this wall, and your perspective is going to be drawn towards the tomb. I did it again at the bottom half of the exhibition space over there. Again, the moment your head goes above ground and you can see throughout the glass, again, your perspective is drawn directly at the tomb. Then, in regards to designing the site, when I was studying my floor plans of the building, the most prominent feature that I saw was this curve, and everything is really based off of this curve. So I wanted to basically take the interior architecture and extend it onto the site. So what I did was create, and it really helped me get this pathway from the east side, which is where most people come from, back to the south to reinstate this grandeur entrance. So it's almost as if this wall, which originally stopped more or less very abruptly, it's almost as if it extended onto the site and created this path. And I wanted to take it as far as to the extent where, almost as if when the cement would be poured for the terrace, it would be swirled in that same pattern. So the spaces on the inside really define the outside by swirling through. So then it would create these very organic shaped benches, which aren't your typical bench with a back, but rather it's this block that was almost extruded out of the site in that curve. Again, the shrubs would be in that curve as well, skylights for the 4 reading rooms, and that was the articulation of the site. And then in regards to the site plan, again, I wanted to reinstate it. I wanted to reinstate it again by having this curve would go in these skylights would be created in that curve as well. So now these interesting shadows are casted on the floor plan of the inside of the museum that really reinforce this back to that swirled motion of the site's design. And then to go back to this direct implied perspective, I came back and put in this alley of trees on its original axis of the tomb steps to really enforce that with this asymmetrical design of the building to really enforce back to that straight linear perspective of the tomb. So the museum is here to enhance the tomb, and it puts the tomb into the main, it allows the tomb to be the main attraction and really puts the tomb on display.